Okay, so welcome, Marianne. You have cleansed with us before in the Cleanse program. We're so happy to have you here with us. I'd love you to share with people who are listening 5 things that perhaps you got from taking part in the Cleanse program.
Okay. Might be hard to narrow it to five. Definitely uh, increased sleep, like fantastic quality of sleep, energy. Um, Definitely, I noticed after about kind of day 9 or 10, just the energy in the morning was incredible. Uh, Clearer thinking, so more focused thoughts, much better clarity of thinking. Um, I think establishing a really nice self-care routine just kind of came with it. Kind of my meditation practice deepened, I would say, definitely. And great eating habits and really nice recipes, like brilliant recipes. And is that five?
Yeah, it is. No
Yeah,
pressure.
yeah, yeah. So I could keep going. I could keep going.
No, that's
Yeah.
great. And I experienced the same as cleansing. So it's great that you share that. If there was one of those that stood out to you that was particularly, let's say, surprising to you that came through the cleanse, what would that be?
Mm. I think the self-care, because it can often seem like a bit of a contradiction. You know, you're doing a cleanse, and you know, you think about denial. When you think of the word cleanse or something like that, it can often bring up thoughts of denial. But actually, um, the opposite proved to be true, and that was the biggest surprise for me. And it continues to be the biggest surprise. You know, cleansing again and again. Um, that is the constant surprise, and actually also how much there is to do in the self-care area, how much you think you're doing, and actually how much more you can do, and how beneficial that is to you and to everyone in your circle.
Okay, so
So I think that would be the main one.
so self-care was kind of a surprise for you, how it like impacted your life, how it went with the cleanse and what it gave you as a
Mm.
result. Nice.
Yes, absolutely.
And so self-care is the most surprising one. What would you say was the most beneficial? Is it also self-care or perhaps something different?
Um, I think it was really interesting to look at thought patterns, and again was something that surprised me. So kind of ways of thinking, in as much as you're changing your routine with food, you know, the habitual foods that you eat, when you change those, you get a chance to look at, you know, thoughts and how thoughts can often go with those kind of habitual thoughts, habitual eating patterns. Um, and that was tough to look at. That was not something pleasant, but actually that's probably been really beneficial.
Beautiful. And what would you say the main differences are between cleansing by yourself at home and cleansing? I know you've done that because you mentioned that your first cleanse was at home. You got the pack
Yeah,
and you took part in
yeah,
it. And then your next cleanse was with a group in our community. So what would you say
yeah.
the main differences are there?
I think the main difference would be that you're getting to really look into the different levels of cleansing and their impact on, you know, your spirit, and your mental thought patterns. Um, they're the kind of things that, yes, you do reflect on all the time, but quite often when you're on your own, they just go round and round. And when you're in a group, you're actually journeying through these. And it's just, you pass through the different phases. So in each week of the cleanse, you really are in a different phase. And so to look at that collectively really moves you through each phase in a way that I think would be, it's much more difficult on your own, and also not as enjoyable. So when things were actually, you know, some sharings that really started off with people feeling like they were going through quite difficult stuff, often ended up with laughter. And that was the
Mhm.
real thing, that when you're on your own, it can be much harder to flip from one to the other. And I think that was a huge benefit of doing it with the group.
Beautiful. So yeah, the challenges, they do come up, right? And they go, what would you say was your biggest challenge during the cleanse?
Um, I think the biggest challenge were when other things would pop up that were challenging, and you wanted to revert back to habitual things. So having, you know, the cake, the coffee, because things are hard, you know, I'm going to treat myself. So it was really having to replace those.
Yeah.
And that just demanded, and really what that demanded most was a bit of imagination. But that was the thing that it was really easy to slip back into, but it was just coming at it from a different angle. And actually, once that happened, the cravings got less and less, because what you had replaced it with was an amazing dish or an amazing snack that wasn't anti-cleanse and really made you feel even better than the sugar or the cake or the coffee. Yeah.
I just had a flashback when you were talking there, and I remember like in the April cleanse last year, because you have a beautiful voice and gift with music, you went down to the waters, didn't you, to sing?
Yes, I did. Yeah, that was kind of one that we were talking about, because we were kind of essentially giving up things. What were we going to take on? And I was living near Phoenix Park at the time, and for my morning meditation, I decided I was going to try and get to the little one of the pond closest to my road to meditate in the mornings, and just be beside the water. And it was really a beautiful practice, and I just continued it actually long after the cleanse was over until I moved from Dublin. Just to be beside the water each morning and just there, it was a real support, and it felt like a real gift to myself in a time of, you know, giving up things. It was a lovely thing to take on. Yeah.
There's two more questions I'd love to run by you. One is, we know that cleanse changes us physically, like we change our foods and our body begins to change and heal and regenerate. And it shifts us emotionally to a more stable place. Mentally, we become a bit more focused and clearer. But then the next aspect is like the spiritual shift that happens. And that often surprises me, you know, how deeply it affects my journey. And I know it's the same for others. So I'd love you just to share a little bit, perhaps on the spiritual, or if it's impacted your intuition, or, you know, this kind of area of how the cleanse affected you.
I would say what I found most interesting about it was, because there was a lot of stuff that was things that were quite reflective in it. I was spending a lot maybe more time on my own, and it was probably lockdown as well. But I really discovered I really enjoyed the time to myself. I really enjoyed the creativity that came from that, because it was actually, looking back now, it was quite a really creative time. And I think we all inspired each other, and you certainly inspired us, Orla. So we really shared our own gifts, I think, during that time. And that was something that really surprised me, that I really enjoyed being much more introvert, you know, and I think it certainly, one of the things that can be unnerving about a cleanse is that it brings you to a much quieter place initially than you're used to. And I've heard a lot of people in our groups over the last while say that. But actually, I find that such a gift, and I felt like I got to reconnect with myself in a much deeper way, actually. So that was a real blessing from the cleanse for me, and it continues to be. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that, because I really feel it's, you know, the age of like one person, be it on stage or teaching or facilitating and others listening, is over, you know, and it's now the time of everyone is a participant. Like, it's the one mind working through us all. And I love that as the cleanse goes on, how we kind of connect more into this deeper space and then share, and we all engage. And yeah, it's so enriching, and it's fun, you know, it's pure fun too, which is like a nice element to a cleanse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think it was the April cleanse that we had a kind of you had arranged a kind of an award ceremony, so we all dressed up and
I love
danced. Actually, we danced. We just danced, and we had a really talented DJ among us. I think I remember, and he put on his decks, and it was just hilarious. It was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, it was a real celebration, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, beautiful. And so that kind of brings us to the last question, which we might have already answered, but or not. What would you say the most fun thing is? Most enjoyable dash fun thing is about a cleanse?
I think the creativity. I definitely think it allows people to dig a little deeper or investigate a place that they haven't maybe had the time or the realization that they were interested in it before. And what does happen is that you find you've got lots more time because things are kind of simpler in a way. You've kind of committed to making things simpler, so you have all this time and space to be more creative or sing that song or paint or draw and things like that. And yeah, I think that was the biggest thing for me among many.
Beautiful. And you just reminded me of just one point I share is like, I do notice that when we cleanse, we tend, like it might take a few weeks to get there, but we tend to enter a space where we feel like we've more time, right? Does that happen to
Yeah.
you? Literally,
Yeah, absolutely.
mind becomes so much calmer and the body that it's like, I don't know, there's more space, there's more time.
Yeah.
It's almost magical, isn't it? It's a shifting of consciousness, a shifting of awareness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really transformative experience. And yeah, I just I hope to continue doing it. It's something I look forward to now. And I think I mentioned this to you more recently. I think I was a bit fearful the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Am I really going to do this? I'm really going to do this. Am I really going to do this? And now for the April cleanse, I'm actually really looking forward to it. And I'm already thinking about things I'm going to eat that I'd kind of forgotten about during the course of the year. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to us connecting as well. And it's just, it really feels like a homecoming for me at this stage, you know, so I'm really just delighted. Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I'm so glad you're joining us on this cleanse, Marianne, and that you're going to be playing a bit of a support role as well and helping holding space. So if anyone's watching this and you're interested, please feel free to send a message, check out the website, get in contact. Would you have one final message if anyone is kind of like toying with the idea, maybe they've never cleansed before, because that's how we have all started this journey. Perhaps they're, you know, a little curious. Any words of advice?
I think if you're looking for an ideal time, I think this is really an ideal time because most people are living in a kind of a restricted way at the moment where cooking and being at home is a really integral part of what's happening in people's lives at the moment. And that is the ideal way because you can really, really look after yourself and cook really well. And I think a lot of people that I've spoken to at the moment, there's a kind of a setting in, you know, people are just finding it tough. It's the last phase of the current level of restriction, and which is always the toughest, the final hurdle. So if people are looking for something just to really give them a kind of a spring in their step to come out of this phase, I think a cleanse is a really, really fabulous way of doing that and of showing to yourself that you're really committed to being a healthier, more fabulous version of yourself when we come out of all of this. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for your sharings. Yeah, before we finish, is there anything that we haven't mentioned or that you'd like to share?
No, I mean, I probably would say that when I did the cleanse in April, I had just had the virus in the beginning of March, just after lockdown kind of hit. And it was quite a confusing time because nobody really knew what was going on and people couldn't get tested and everything. And I suppose part of my reason for doing the cleanse that time was to really kind of make sure that I got better. And I've spoken to a lot of people who had the virus maybe months ago and they're still struggling with energy and things like that. And there's lots of different ways to do the cleanse. It doesn't have to be an all out, you know, everything gone. But I think if for people who are really wanting to feel their energy come back in a bigger way, I really certainly feel that it helps me a lot. And if that could help other people who are kind of recovering, I think it would. It's a really great way to nurse yourself. You're doing everything, and you're bringing your body back to 100% health, and nobody else is doing that. It's you and you are as a guide in our group. We kind of do it together, but people really could get such a sense of completion and a feeling of celebration from it in themselves, you know, in their own strength. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah, empowering. Lovely. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you, Marianne, for coming
Thank
on. Thanks for sharing
you.
all your insights. It's such a pleasure seeing your beautiful
Thank
face.
you for having us. And I
Um,
can't wait to start again, Orla. Yeah.
yeah, Marianne is in Hungary and she is taking part in this cleanse. We have people from other countries. So whether you're in Ireland or other countries, you're so very welcome to the space. Thank you again, Marianne, from my heart to yours. It's been such a pleasure listening to you and sharing.